People
and
moved
we're
out.
here. Yeah, you
What?
said that last time.
Did I? Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Nothing
Also-
new here.
Also, I may get a phone call on one of these.
Uh-oh.
So if the editing on,
Can I talk to him?
it'll be a vet.
Like a veterinarian?
Veterinarian.
Or a Vietnam vet.
Veterinarian. Yeah, a Vietnam vet is going to call me.
Having some flashbacks.
I usually have to help him, talk him through it, you know.
Oh, look, you missed it. There was a little mole. Just run across the road. But what are you talking about today,
Today,
besides Vietnam?
we're going to be talking about the forgotten life of Kaspar Hauser.
Who?
Kaspar Hauser.
I forgot. Who?
All right, so May 26th, 1828.
Damn, we're going back, huh?
A teenage boy appears randomly on the streets of Nuremberg, Germany.
Did you say he just appears?
He appears out of nowhere.
Out
They
of
don't
the
know. They don't know where he came from.
Okay.
He carried a letter with him that was addressed to Captain von Wessenig, who was the captain of the 4th Squadron of the 6th Cavalry Regiment. The heading of the letter simply read, "From the Bavarian border, the place is unnamed, 1828."
He came from space.
The letter was written anonymously, and the author of the letter stated that the boy had been given into his custody as an infant on October 7th, 1812, and that he had taught him some reading and writing and some fundamentals of the Christian religion, but had never allowed the boy to take a step outside of his house.
Till today.
The letter stated that the boy would like to be a cavalryman like his father was, and the letter told the captain to either take the boy in or kill him.
I'd take it that neither happened, clearly.
Another short letter was enclosed inside the main letter, and this letter was supposedly from the boy's mother. The smaller letter stated that his name was Kaspar Hauser, and that he was born on April 30th, 1812, and that his father was dead. The penmanship of both letters appeared to be written by the same person, but this was never proven.
So I bet his dad died on the cavalry,
So,
if I had to guess.
a shoemaker found the boy,
Cobbler.
a cobbler found the boy, and read the notes, at which point he took the boy to Captain von Wessenig. The boy would only repeat 2 phrases. "I want to be a cavalryman as my father was," and "horse, horse."
Clearly, this guy only has one dream.
Further demands to speak only made the boy cry, and he would simply repeat the words, "I don't know."
Damn it.
The captain told the shoemaker to take the boy to the police, and when he was questioned by the police, he only repeated the before-mentioned phrases.
God damn it, I want to be a cavalryman like my father.
The boy showed that he was familiar with money.
Horse.
The boy was familiar with money and was able to recite some Christian prayers and was able to read a little.
So, like, did they show him $1? And he's like, $1.
I don't know. It didn't go into that much detail.
Ooh, $1.
But because he was not able to provide any more details about himself, he was imprisoned as a vagabond.
What the fuck?
I mean, this
How
is
confusing must that be?
this is 1820s Germany.
I know, but just imagine how confusing that is. I want to ride horses. Too fucking bad.
That's too bad, young boy. You're going to be thrown in jail now.
Yeah, I'm gonna lock you in a cage like a horse.
Like, only worse off.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, man.
1820s Germany was nothing to fuck with.
Clearly not. People just appear on the street.
So, he spent the next 2 months in. This is all German, so I could be pronouncing it completely wrong.
Guten Tag?
No. He spent the next 2 months in Lugisland Tower.
That sounds right.
In the Nuremberg Castle, in the care of a jailer named Andreas Hittel, something.
Sounds right.
The boy was in good physical condition and had a healthy facial complexion and was estimated to be about 16 years old, but appeared to be mentally impaired with the mind of a child.
Ooh. I've noticed a pattern with your stories.
They're depressing.
Well, no, there's always a kid that has like a mental problem where he's like
That's true.
5 years behind, however old he
That's
is.
true. The girl with Jeff, the talking mongoose.
Yeah, those three guys.
Jim Jones couldn't make friends easily. The missing boys of Yuba City were all mentally impaired.
They were like 16 in their heads, but they're like 25. I like this. Keep it going.
He eventually was taught to read and write better and soon began to speak. While in Lugasland Tower, the boy refused all food except bread and water.
He's Jesus.
He never pulls a Jim Jones on him and says he's Jesus, but the local mayor, Mayor Bender, took an interest in the child and would visit him often. At first, Bender assumed that the boy had been raised wild in the forest.
What an assumption.
He is a feral child, obviously.
He wants to be a fucking cavalryman. Something's wrong here.
He has obviously been thrown to the wolves as a young child.
Horse. His family.
He was raised by horses. Obviously, we can deduce that much. So,
beautiful.
but Kaspar eventually told him a different story of his past life. Kaspar claimed that as long as he could remember, he had spent his life completely alone in a darkened cell that was 6 feet long and 3 feet wide, with only a bed made out of straw and a dog toy and a horse toy carved out of wood. He claimed that he found rye bread and water next to his bed each morning, and periodically the water would have a bitter taste to it, and after he drank it, he would sleep heavier than usual. On such occasions, when he would wake up, his hair and nails would be cut, and the straw for his bed would be changed. He claimed that the first human being who he ever had contact with was a mysterious man who would visit him shortly before his release, but the man never revealed his face. This man taught him how to write his name by leading his hand, and the man also taught him to say the phrase, "I want to be a cavalryman as my father was." But Kaspar claimed he did not know what those words meant. After learning to stand and to walk, the strange man brought him to Nuremberg. The tale gained great curiosity, obviously, and made Kaspar an object of international attention, and rumors rose that he may be of princely parentage.
Ooh, so he was famous.
He was, at the time, as famous as you could get.
Oh, as famous as you could get.
I mean, this was obviously pre-internet.
Well, I'm just saying, you appear on the street one day.
Mayor Bender was not like, I have to put this on Twitter. Hold on.
Hear ye.
Do a pose for the gram.
Yeah. Hold still, you little fucker. I'll put you back in that box.
So, another German name. Here we go. Paul Johann Anselm Ritter von Feuerbach,
You pronounced that perfectly.
president of the Bavarian Court of Appeals, began to investigate the case. Kaspar was adopted by the town of Nuremberg, and money was donated for his upkeep and his education. He was given into the care of Friedrich Dahmer, a schoolmaster and philosopher, who taught Kaspar various subjects and discovered his talent for drawing.
Solid.
So, Dahmer also conducted homeopathic treatments and magnetic experiments on the boy.
Magnetic experiments? What do you mean?
And President Feuerbach, witnessing some of the tests, later said, when Professor Dahmer held the North Pole of a magnet towards Kaspar, he would put his hand to his stomach and said that it drew him forward, but that the South Pole of a magnet affected him less powerfully and said it blew air upon him.
So, in other words, this kid's a magnet.
No scientific conclusions were ever reached from these tests.
So he may be a magnet.
It is possible that he is a magnet.
Just a giant magnet.
On October 17th, 1829, Kaspar did not come for his midday meal, and he was later found in the cellar of Dahmer's house bleeding from a cut wound on his forehead.
Magnet ripped out.
Kaspar claimed that while he had been using the toilet, he was attacked and wounded by a hooded man who threatened him.
Robin Hood.
Kaspar said that he recognized the voice as the man who had brought him to Nuremberg.
Oh, hell. It's all coming full circle.
The blood trail indicated that Kaspar first led to the first floor where his bedroom was, but instead of moving to one of the rooms of his caretakers, he returned downstairs, climbed through a trap door into the cellar. The attack fueled the rumors that he was a descendant of a king and possibly a prince, possibly from Hungary. After the attack, a police escort transferred Kaspar to the care of Johann Bieberbach,
Do you say
a municipal policeman.
Bieberbach?
It might be Bieberbach, or I could be
I
pronouncing
feel like you're
it
pronouncing it perfectly.
Bieberbach.
You need to quit doubting yourself. You've been to Germany.
Obviously. I appeared in Nuremberg one day.
Me too. Hey, this is my story.
On April 3rd, 1830, a gunshot went off in Kaspar's room at Bieberbach's house.
Bieberbach.
Bieberbach entered the room
With a gun.
and he found Kaspar bleeding from a wound to the right side of his head.
Suicide.
Kaspar was revived quickly, so no.
Oh.
He was revived quickly, and he stated that he had climbed on a chair to get some books off of a tall shelf and that the chair had fallen. And while he was trying to find something to grab onto, he accidentally tore down the pistol that had been hanging on the wall, causing the shot to go off.
A likely story.
Bieberbach did not believe the story.
Neither do I.
And Kaspar was lectured for lying.
For lying.
After the pistol incident, Kaspar's initially good relationship with the Bieberbach family had been tarnished.
I got shot by a guy. No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
So in May of 1830, Kaspar was transferred to the house of Baron von Tucher.
Never come back here.
Miss Bieberbach would later say that Kaspar was, quote, full of vanity and spite.
Fucking Bieberbachs, man. They seem like they know what they're talking about. I feel like they've been double-crossed.
A British nobleman, Lord Stanhope, took an interest in Kaspar.
Doug Stanhope.
Took an interest in Kaspar and gained custody of him in late 1831.
This kid's been all over the place.
Stanhope spent a great sum of money attempting to clarify Kaspar's origin and heritage.
He's a ghost.
Stanhope paid for 2 visits to Hungary, hoping to jog Kaspar's memory, because Kaspar seemed to remember some Hungarian words and once declared that the Hungarian Countess Matheny was his mother.
Side note, you know why they call it Hungry, right?
What?
You never get full.
Of the country? Did I miss the punchline?
It's a terrible, terrible joke.
It's
It's terrible.
Because they're poor.
No, because they're hungry.
Because they're poor.
No, because they're hungry.
Yeah, they're hungry because
They
they're poor.
they never get full
Because they're poor.
because they have a disease. It's like a mental problem. The part of their
All of
brain, the part of their brain that says that they're full,
Oh my god. Okay.
doesn't register.
Obviously, that was Kaspar's problem.
Yeah, clearly, that's why he stopped eating that night.
But okay. So this Lord Stanhope guy took him to Hungary to try and jog his memory because he knew Hungarian words and said that the Hungarian Countess Matheny was his mom.
Clearly, we need to get this kid to Hungary.
But upon their arrival, Kaspar failed to recognize any buildings or landmarks in Hungary. Stanhope later wrote that the complete failure of these inquiries led him to doubt Kaspar's credibility.
Don't beat yourself up over stuff like that. You've been reading German for like 30 minutes. It's okay.
Oh, yeah. In December of 1831, Kaspar was given into the care of Johann George Mayer,
You don't mess with the Johann.
a schoolmaster. In January 1832, Stanhope advised Mayer that he was done dealing with the boy.
Uh-oh. God, everybody hates him.
Stanhope continued to pay for Caspar's living expenses, but never fulfilled his earlier promise to take Kaspar to England.
God damn, dude.
Everyone's just letting him down.
You know what really pisses me off about this whole thing?
What?
He keeps getting the shit end of the stick. Dude just appeared out of nowhere. Like, it's not like he asked to be here.
I mean, yeah. But Schoolmaster Mayer was a strict man and disliked Kaspar's many excuses and apparent lies. And their relationship was strained from very early on.
It's hard for me to decide, is Kaspar good or a piece of shit? I can't tell. It's like everybody he comes in contact with hates him.
So in late 1832, Kaspar found employment as a copyist in the local law office.
Fucking what?
Kaspar was still in hopes that Lord Stanhope would eventually take him to England and was very dissatisfied with his working situation. And then he found out in May of 1833 that Kaspar's former guardian, von Feuerbach, had died. The only one that was actually kind of genuinely nice to him.
Oh, Feuerbach.
But he was also the one that did the magnetic experiments on him.
Which, in turn, probably caused him some great pain later on, if you think about it.
Yeah, so Kaspar was really upset when he found out that Feuerbach died, because he was the only one who had been relatively okay
That
with
guy
him.
fucked with me, but he was still nice to me. He gave me bread and water
So,
when I asked for it.
So on December 9th, 1833, Kaspar had a serious argument with Meyer. And Lord Stanhope was expected to visit in the following weeks, but Meyer said that he did not want the boy to have any contact with him.
For the last goddamned time.
So 5 days later, on December 14th, 1833, Kaspar came home with a deep stab wound on the left side of his chest.
I'm telling you, this guy isn't making shit up now.
Kaspar claimed that he was lured into the Ansbach Court Gardens and that a stranger stabbed him while thrusting a bag into his hands. When police searched the court garden, they found a small violet purse containing a note that was written in an awesome German word, Spiegelschrift.
Spiegelschrift.
Which is known as mirror writing, which can only be read when it's held up to a mirror.
Wonder why they
So
call
it's
it that.
Written backwards. I don't know, man. But for the slower listeners out there, I wanted to clarify.
What do you mean?
If there's any Kaspar Hausers out in the audience, I wanted to make sure that they knew.
Are you calling Kaspar Hauser slow?
I did not. Who was the first guy? The Baron von Tucher. He's the one that said it seems like he's 16, but he acts like a goddamn 9-year-old.
I'm never teaching.
And that's a quote.
Really?
No.
Okay, I was about to say, wow.
No. So
It's all starting to make sense now.
So he comes home. He's got a stab wound. He said someone stabbed him while they handed him a bag, but he dropped the bag. So when police searched the garden, they found the note that was written in Spiegelschrift, and the note said, in German, it said, Kaspar will be able to tell you quite precisely how I look and where I am from. But to save him the effort, I want to tell you myself where I come from. I come from the Bavarian border on the river. I will even tell you the name, M-L-O.
Bitch, prove it.
And no one knew what the fuck that meant. So they have no idea. They found it and they said, okay, M-L-O. That's not a name.
Clearly, he's a mellow guy.
Mellow. So, while being cared for after the stab wound, Kaspar began to slip into poor health.
Well, he got stabbed.
He would constantly mutter incoherencies about writing with pencil. Although Kaspar was very insistent that the purse be found, he did not ask what the contents were when the police located it. And Kaspar died from his injuries on December 17th, 1833.
What a rough life.
Now, upon his death, many inconsistencies arose in Kaspar's story. The notes that he was holding when he was first found in Nuremberg appeared to have been written by the same person because the handwriting was identical. The note that was found when he had been stabbed in the court gardens was folded in a triangle, which according to Meyer was how Kaspar had used to fold his own notes. And it included one spelling error and one grammatical error, which were consistent with Kaspar's own writing. It was later found that his former guardian, von Feuerberg, had lost faith in Kaspar by the end of his life. Von Feuerberg had written, quote, Kaspar Hauser is a smart, scheming codger, a rogue, a good-for-nothing that ought to be killed. There is no indication that Feuerbach ever let Kaspar know of his change of opinion, though. Forensic doctors argued that the wound was more than likely self-inflicted, and many historians believe that Kaspar stabbed himself in an attempt to revive public interest in his story and to convince Lord Stanhope to fulfill his promise to take him to England, but that he had accidentally stabbed himself more deeply than planned. Kaspar was buried in the city cemetery of Ansbach, where his headstone reads in Latin, Here lies Kaspar Hauser, riddle of his time, his birth unknown, his death mysterious, 1833. And that was the forgotten life of Kaspar Hauser.
I remember.
You remember?
Now I do.
I remember.
You know the best part about this whole thing?
What about Kaspar Hauser?
That guy was like, sup, dog.
Did he?
Yeah, he supped us.
He knows what's up about Kaspar Hauser.
I feel important.
Yeah, so what do you make of the Kaspar Hauser story?
Well, it's just like you could appear, okay? You could appear out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And still have a really shitty life.
You could make up every fact about your life and still it can turn out shitty.
Exactly, especially if you stab yourself way too deep. Like,
yeah,
way deeper than you thought you would.
So that is the leading theory.
Yeah, I'm just going to stab myself really quick. But don't worry, guys. I know exactly when to stop. Oh, shit. Didn't stop. Son of a bitch.
Well, Kaspar, it looks like you got a wound there.
Nah, I'll be okay. Tetanus.
We don't know what tetanus is yet.
Nope, but it hurts.
This is
It still exists.
God damn it, Kaspar. This is 1833.
By any chance, is that where Kaspar the Friendly Ghost comes from, or?
Actually, funny you should say that.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Hold on, I had some stuff pulled up. Oh, I spelled it wrong. There we go. That's always fun.
Boy, I hope that I got it right.
So cultural references.
Are you cultured?
Yeah, dude.
I'm cultured.
So that's not where Kaspar the Ghost comes from, but he has been mentioned in a bunch of books, and TV shows. Let's see. He was mentioned in the book Fahrenheit 451.
Fahrenheit 9/11.
He was mentioned. He was mentioned in Smallville, apparently.
Michael Moore's documentary Bowling for Columbine.
No. What's real funny about Bowling for Columbine, since you brought that up,
there was never a strike.
The only thing I really remember standing out about Bowling for Columbine is that Pete Townsend, the guitarist for The Who, watched it, and all he had to say was, quote, "I'm not convinced."
No, there's no way that's accurate. You know,
He was like, "I'm not convinced."
The thing that sticks with me is the Marilyn Manson interview, because, like, remember when everybody thought Marilyn Manson was edgy?
Oh, yeah.
And then they realized that he was just a transvestite.
Yep. Oh, also, Pete Townsend was also, whenever they were doing the Live Earth concerts.
Yeah.
He said The Who would not be joining because I forget how he put it. He said something. He's like, no, we are not going to be playing the Private Jets for Climate Change concert.
Makes sense. I don't blame him. The private jets for climate change. We will not be polluted. Yeah, I get what he's coming.
So anyway, yeah, that's Kaspar Hauser. Riddle of his time, as his headstone says.
Is that really what it says? Riddle of his time?
Yeah, it says, quote unquote, here lies Kaspar Hauser, riddle of his time, his birth unknown, his death mysterious, 1833.
Just appeared out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Much
actually.
like Hanson.
Yeah,
The only thing is,
fucking Hanson.
and much like Hanson, he destroyed the lives of anyone that he touched.
Would you say Hanson did that?
Hanson sucks.
Also, a monument was later erected in the court garden, which reads,
It was what?
erected.
What?
Dude, it got an erection.
I'm 12.
It was also written in Latin, and it says, Hic occultos occulto occultius est.
What does that mean?
Here lies a mysterious one who was killed in a mysterious manner.
I really like that. That one's better than the other one.
You think so?
Honestly, I would want that on my headstone.
Here lies a mysterious one who was killed in a mysterious manner.
Nothing like a run-on sentence to sum up your life.
All his life was a run-on sentence.
Well, the thing about it was, there's nothing mysterious about how he died. Dude stabbed himself.
Here comes a golf cart.
Are they speeding? I hope they're speeding.
No, but it's a bunch of children.
That's grabbing life by the balls right there, son. You said it's a bunch of children.
Did we just walk into fucking Lord of the Flies somewhere?
No, there are no dead kids here. Only happy memories.
Well, anyway, that was the story of Kaspar Hauser. And so, until next time, I hope you have awesome dreams. And if you have nightmares, I hope they're monster scary and not grandma died scary.
Do well.
Bye.